Welcome to the Embrace Strength podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Crocker. I am an experienced trainer and active life professional. I work with people who are struggling with nagging pain to get back to the activities they love without fear of re-injury. This podcast is here to educate and provide value to you on all things health, fitness, staying active, and personal development. Let's dive in. Hello. Welcome back to the pod. Today, I am going to speak to people who have experience with or are currently recovering from something like an injury. You've gone to physical therapy. Maybe it wasn't as serious as needing a surgery. Maybe it was or whatever. But for some reason or another, you have been in physical therapy and you are cleared. They're like, ease back into the gym, and you're really nervous. You're somebody who has been strength training for a while or working out for a while, and you are nervous about getting re-injured. You're nervous about like doing the wrong thing or whatever. Like, I'm speaking to you. All right. So here's the thing. With physical therapy, it's super great at getting you back to your baseline level of function, with being able to do your daily activities that you do in your daily life without a lot of pain, gaining range of motion back for those basic activities. But what it typically does not prepare you for is getting back to your prior level of function with your workouts or exercise, okay? There is a caveat for cash-based PT, but I'm talking about like regular insurance physical therapy and like how it typically operates. So with that being said, I'm going to speak to that kind of that weird, awkward in-between stage of, okay, I'm done with my rehab physical therapy. I'm ready to get back in the gym, but I don't quite know what to do yet. I am speaking to you. Okay, so the biggest issue that I see when somebody is in this stage is you do not have enough progression in the exercises you're able to do before going back to regular workouts, right? So for example, in physical therapy, you might have done some banded exercises or exercises at half range of motion, but you hadn't done anything with weights yet or full range of motion or with your two legs or whatever. You cannot be expected to just go back in the gym and be able to do a barbell back squat or do a full range of motion split squat with 30-pound dumbbells in each hand. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a very large gap between being cleared from physical therapy and being able to go back into your regular workouts. If you're somebody who has experienced strength training or doing your high intensity workouts or like whatever, there's a large gap that needs to be filled with more progression in order to reduce your risk of re-injury, because this time in your rebuilding process, we'll call it, you are the most susceptible to re-injury because you're not necessarily in a ton of pain all the time. So you might think like, oh, I'm just ready to get back to XYZ. But if you don't have the baseline foundational strength to like do those higher level exercises, you might think that your body is ready for something that it's really not. You do it and then you are set back by a lot. So we don't want that to happen. So I'm going to talk through a few things that you can look at for yourself before heading back into like your regular workouts, okay? So the most common thing that I see with clients is the need for continuing to improve range of motion in certain areas. So this is obviously going to depend on where your injury was, what your physical therapy actually looked like. But a lot of times we need to build more capacity in those ranges of motion, especially if they are fresh out of rehab. Okay, so like you might need to take a look at your mobility, depending on what your injury was, again, of course. But from the rebuilding strength standpoint, definitely start yourself with like testing your single leg balance. Like, how is your balance? Do a lot of single leg, single arm movements. You should not be just jumping right back into bilateral movements, most likely. Like, for the most part, what I see is people need to build back up strength side to side before doing things with 2 legs, 2 arms again. So don't be afraid to take things slow. Your ego's not going to like it. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm starting over in my fitness journey. And you're not starting over, but you are paving a new path for yourself that you haven't dealt with before. When I was going through my ankle rehab process, like after physical therapy, the building strength process, I felt like a beginner again. I was like, holy moly, like I can barely do anything. Like I feel so weak. I like felt so weak, so unable to do anything. And that wasn't necessarily true. It just looked a lot different than what I was used to. And that is what you need. You need to do things that are different than before because you haven't rebuilt strength like this directly after an injury. So don't be afraid to do things like single leg balance, work on some step ups, building strength with split squats, doing single arm presses, doing weight that is lighter, that feels light, but you're able to do with very good form. Again, like you're not going to be right back lifting the weights that you were before prior to your injury, but you do need to be focused on making sure your form is really good, you're using tempo, you're not rushing, using the right muscles, all these different things. Like think about it as if you're literally rebuilding a foundation to get back to where you were before. You can get back to where you were before and even better, but if you don't do this rebuilding the foundation portion of building your strength after an injury, you are much more likely to get re-injured in the future. So it pays off to go slow, rebuild your strength, really focus on the fundamentals, and then taking it day by day. Something that a lot of people don't talk about as much in this process is how much of it is mental, because the progress is not linear. You're not going to feel better every single workout. You are going to get frustrated. You are going to have flare-ups. And so it can really be a whole mental mind game during this. But what's important is you staying positive, continuing to show up, and just swallowing your ego and just like forgetting about it and just taking it as like, hey, I'm here to rebuild my strength in the smartest and best way possible for my body. I cannot compare myself to even just the past version of you. You can't do that because you're in a completely different spot now, right? So there's definitely a lot of different facets to this rebuilding process, but I think that the purpose of this episode today, I just wanted to like give you permission to know what to expect, to have realistic expectations when it comes to like a mindset standpoint, and just keep going because you can get back to stronger than you were before, more capacity than you were before, but you do have to show up even when you feel like, man, this feels like it should be so easy, but it's not, and this feels stupid and pointless. And like literally, like those are things that I would think about when I was rebuilding my strength after my ankle surgery. And it's not easy, but it is worth it. And it is worth it to rebuild your fitness the right way so that you can be stronger, build more capacity than you ever have before. So I hope this episode was helpful for anybody, encouraging for you. If you know anybody that could benefit from listening to this episode, send it their way. All right. I will talk to you guys next time.